period of an hour, she went from a regular hospital room, intensive care, to being on a ventilator. And I'm going to tell you, as a parent, there is nothing more traumatic than watching your child go through that.
Tonight, an East Tennessee family is sharing their story of illness tied to vaping. The State Department of Health just released new numbers. Only 4 more people got sick from vaping in the state this week, bringing the total number to 68. So far, 2 people have died in Tennessee and 42 died across the country.
Kim Bohannon was worried her 21-year-old daughter would be next. 10 News reporter Cole Sullivan has her family's story of the 2 weeks they spent in the hospital. Cole.
For 3 horrible days, her daughter Emily was on life support. Now this mom is warning other parents about the dangers of vaping. Here's how they tell their story.
I thought it was just a flu or something like that. At that point, I had been vaping probably more than anybody should.
Because it was so odorless and because I didn't notice anything, then to me that seemed like, well, I don't really like it, but it's probably a safer alternative than smoking.
And I just kept getting worse.
So they admitted her to the hospital after the 3rd emergency room visit in less than a week. In the period of an hour, she went from a regular hospital room, intensive care, to being on a ventilator. And I'm going to tell you, as a parent, there is nothing more traumatic than watching your child go through that.
They told me that I was going to die if I didn't get put under medical sedation. That's when I started to panic.
It was gut-wrenching, not knowing if the next time I walked into the intensive care unit, if she was still going to be alive.
That's when the tears started coming. I was like, I don't want to die.
I would hold her hand and I would talk to her. Sometimes she would raise her eyebrows. She spent 3 days in the intensive care unit. We were dealing with something that the medical community is still learning about.
I was using a THC cartridge, and it was a little bit of both, the preservatives in the cartridge and in the Juul that kind of did a nasty combo on my lungs.
Once they gave her very heavy doses of steroids, her lungs started to open up.
I was like, I just want to go home and pet my dogs.
I just didn't realize how deadly it could be.
My lungs are basically broken glass.
And doctors just don't know the long-term impact that this will have on Emily's lungs. Her mom says there's just so much the doctors don't know about vaping in general. In her opinion, it's just not worth the risk. Robin, John.
What a testimony. Cole Sullivan on the story. Thank you. Right now, Oak Ridge Schools is talking about the dangers of vaping with students. The school system says an expert from the field of tobacco and vaping is there, and it will host a Q&A session with students to talk about vaping from their perspective. The meeting is at Jefferson Middle School auditorium right now until 7 o'clock. And right now in the WBIR app, you can see resources talking about vaping with your teenagers, how to do it. Also, vaping rules in schools in our area and warnings from others who say vaping made them sick.